Welcome back, guys, to Jarrett the Journeyman. Today, we're going to continue with our motor calculations, and we're going to be going to step 2 on how to set our overloads for our motors and how to calculate that. So let me get this whiteboard opened up for you guys. Right one. And we're ready to go. Now, remember in my last video, I showed you this. Let me change the laser. I showed you this situation, told you guys that this is some good information to have with you when you are taking your test. So in that last video, we went over step 1, and today we're going to go over step 2, determining the overload protection of the motor. And remember, step 2 is right here. These are your heaters within your motor. And remember, heaters react slowly. Think of it like they have to heat up and separate that and open up that connection. They slowly heat up, where if your breaker or your fuse needs to trip, it's instantaneously. It's there. It's quick. Heaters take a little time to heat up. To actually, they used to warm up and heat up and separate. These new ones are a little bit different. But anyways, in this diagram here, we've got our motors here. Step 1. Step 2 is our heaters. Step 3 is our branch circuit conductors. Step 4 is our overcurrent protection. Step 5 is your feeder feeder conductors. And then step 6 is your overcurrent protection for your feeder. So that'd be your disconnect, your conduit going from your disconnect all the way to your MCC, your breakers in your MCC, the wire going out to your motor, going through your heaters to your motor. So that's kind of how this diagram reads. So let's see what we can get going here. All right, let's go to Article 430.32A1. And what you guys need to do is highlight that right in here, and highlight this information right here. This is some very important information on setting your overloads. So what this is saying is, motors with a marked service factor of 1.15 or greater, you multiply the FLC by 125%. And then motors marked with a temperature rise 40 degrees Celsius or less, you mark it with, or you multiply it times 1.25 on the FLC. So every time you see a percentage in your mind, you need to let know, hey, that's a multiplier. I need to multiply. And then all other motors, if you have motors that don't fit under this category or this category, we use a multiplier of 1.15 or 115% on that of the FLC. So 430.32A1, make sure that gets highlighted. You will need this. What I would do right here in your code book, I would write in #2 or let you know that this is the second step in here. So this one was the first one, which is 430.250. And now we need to put a 2 by 2. I'm sorry, 430.32 right here. So that lets you know that's the second step. Also, you'll remember, if you put a 2 there, we're calculating that right there. All right, guys, let's get on with this. Here's a question that you'll probably see. What is the maximum overload protection device allowed for 7.5 horsepower for 80-volt 3-phase motor with a nameplate full load amperage FLA of 12 amps and a 1.15 service factor? I think up here, I told you this is multiplied by the FLC. I need to be corrected on that. That's the FLA. This is the only step that you use the FLA, and that's on the motor itself. So we've got a What's maximum overload protection? 7.5 horsepower, 480 volt 3-phase motor with a nameplate full load amp of 12 amps and a 1.15 service factor. So guys, out of all this, the only information we need is this right here. So we got 12 amps and we have a 1.15 service factor. So we take the 12 amps and we multiply it times 1.25. We go ahead and just take that percentage, move the decimal to the left 2 places and make it 1.25%. 1.25 as the multiplier. And down here, you take 12 times 1.25 and that's 15 amps. So that's what you set your heaters or your overloads to when you're in there dialing them. Or if you're old school, you got to get the charts out and put the right heater in the motor starter and whatnot. So that's very important. Now what they can do right here, they can change this service factor in a question and make it 40 degrees Celsius or less. So be on the lookout for that. Your masters, I've had questions where you had to set motors to this and you've had to set motors to this. Just be on the lookout for that. If they don't give you that information, then you use the 1.15 and that'll get you your overload protection. But guys, that's the easy part right in there. It was not as easy as the FLA because there was a little bit of math. I mean, FLC, but the FLA used that when you're doing your overload protection, and that's in 430.32A1. Make sure that gets highlighted, the number 2 put next to it, so you know that that's number 2 in the step of this right in here. Guys, that's all I've got for you today. That's step 2 of the 6 steps in motor calculations. We'll move on to the next one. Let's see. Next one is finding the size of the branch circuit conductors is number 3. That'll be my next video. If you missed my first video on finding the FLC of that, I'll have something. I don't know how they do it. I'll have something up here where you can click on it and go to there to figure that one out. But make sure you know how to do step 1 before you go to 2, because it's just like a building. We're building blocks. And if you miss the first block, your building's going to fall. So that's all I have today. Guys, if you got something out of this, please hit the subscribe button. I've got other videos coming out. Of course, we've got 4 more steps in this motor calculation, so you'll be wanting to know when those come out. So hit the subscribe for me. I appreciate it. And that's all I got for you today. You guys be safe out there.